Good afternoon and welcome to NASA's Johnson Space Center. I'm Sandra Jones. We're here today to discuss an upcoming spacewalk outside the International Space Station that will take place on May 1st. This will be the 275th spacewalk in support of space station maintenance, assemblies, and upgrades. Today, to discuss the spacewalk in more detail, we have Bill Spetch, who is the Operations Integration Manager for the International Space Station, and Diana Trujillo, who will be the spacewalk flight director during the May 1st spacewalk. We'll start with some brief opening remarks from each of our briefers before jumping into questions here in the room, on the phone bridge, and using the hashtag AskNASA. So without further ado, I'll hand it over to Bill for his opening remarks.
All right. Thank you, Sandra, and thank you everyone for being here today to discuss this spacewalk coming up outside the International Space Station, where we're going to install a modification kit ahead of a future IROSA solar array installation, as well as relocate a communications antenna to help support our visiting vehicles. This will be the first spacewalk of Expedition 73, but it'll be our third this year in 2025. We'll have NASA astronauts Anne McClain and Nichole Ayers will be the spacewalkers going out on May 1st, and that's scheduled to start at 8 a.m. Eastern Time. This will be the third spacewalk for Anne and the first for Nichole. U.S. Spacewalk 93 will be the 275th spacewalk, as Sandra mentioned, in support of the International Space Station assembly, maintenance, and upgrades. Of course, this comes in the middle of a very busy time for ISS. Just on Saturday night, Houston time, Sunday over in Kazakhstan, we welcomed Don Pettit and the rest of the 72 Soyuz crew home. Don actually returned on his 70th birthday and wrapped up to 220 days in space. Then shortly after that, we had the SpaceX 32 cargo mission launch and dock to space station. With that arrival, that delivered nearly 7,000 pounds of science, food, and supplies to the ISS. Looking a bit further ahead, that sets us up really well for, in May, we will see the fourth private astronaut mission to space station. Of course, this year we continue to count forward to the huge milestone of 25 years of continuous human presence in November, and we continue to stay busy on board ISS and continue to press forward with all the great work we're doing. With that, I will turn it over to Diana to talk to you through the spacewalk in more detail.
Thank you, Bill. Thank you, Sandra. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Diana Trujillo. My call sign is Somos Flight. I am the lead flight director for the U.S. Spacewalk 93, and today I'm excited to share with you all the details for the spacewalk. Like Bill mentioned, on May 1st, our plan is to have astronaut Anne McClain as EV1 with the red stripes, and then Nichole Ayers as EV2. They will be exiting the space station for a planned EVA or spacewalk of about 6 hours and 30 minutes. Leading to the spacewalk, Anne McClain and also Nichole will be assisted by two other astronauts, Takuya Onishi and Johnny Kim, who will be helping them get into their spacesuit as well as getting out of their spacesuit as soon as they come back inside. In addition to that, on Earth, we will have a team of specialists that will be following everything on the spacewalk itself, all the details of what we are executing on space. We will start with Spacewalk Lead Officer Farouk Sabor. We also have Marcos Verio as our communicator with the spacewalk, particularly with Anne and with Nichole. We also have Sandy Moore as the communicator with Takuya and Johnny as the EVA is executing outside the station. All the activities, all the details of the activity, as well as monitoring the spacesuit itself, will be done by Lucas Whitner, Bailey Vegas, and Steven Villano. With respect to the spacewalk itself, we have two primary objectives this time. One of them is to build and install the modification mod kit, is also how we call it. The structure itself was designed to hold the rollout solar arrays that will come into another EVA in the future. Now, the second objective for us today is to move or relocate the Common Communication for Visiting Vehicle Boom, or C2B2. The intent here is that we are shifting it 1.5 feet so that we can clear one of the antennas from structural blockage. In addition to that, it would go back to the mud kit, and if we can show one of the slides with the mud kit, please. Perfect, thank you. Okay, so the mod kit itself really is made of a triangle, which we call the upper triangle, 2 structural struts on the side with 27 bolts that we are going to install. We're installing it on the mass canister of the BGA, which is the beta, the BGA is the beta gimbal assembly. And then if we go to the next slide, we can talk a little bit about what the secondary activity is. So as we said, it's the C2B tube. This is the boom that we will remove from the currently installed location, then go ahead and put an extension in that same location, and then go back and put the C2B tube boom at the end of the extension. Next slide, please. If we take a step back, I want to also just to share with you that we have installed the mod kits in the station about 6 different times already in different locations. This will be the 7th time that we are going to install it. And this go around, we're going to do it on the 2 alpha location that you can see on the screen. That location is on the port side of the vehicle. The C2V2 is also on the port side of the vehicle, so both activities will be on the same location of the vehicle itself. Next slide, please. Okay. So let's see. So the next thing I wanted just to also share with you guys is the next video that we're going to see, which it will show you all the details of the sequence of events of our EVA. So if we can play it, that would be great. Our day will start with Astronaut and McClain as EV1 in the red stripes and Nichole Ayers as EV2. Nichole will carry an 8-foot long strut bag and Anne will carry the tool bag. Both crew members will translate to the port side of the International Space Station, heading to the work site of the Modification Kit Structure, or mod kit. At that location, they will secure their 2 bags and begin the installation activity. Nichole will start the modification activity by removing the strut out of the bag to assemble the upper triangle. The upper triangle consists of 2 struts and a mounting bracket. Nichole will then hand the triangle to Anne, who will install it on the mass canister of the beta gimbal assembly, or BGA structure. The crew will then proceed with the installation of the right lower strut and the right mid strut on the right side of the mass canister. After that, the crew will move to the left side of the mass canister to perform the same order of operations, beginning with the left lower strut, followed by the left mid strut. Once all the struts are installed, the crew will cover both mid-struts with multi-layer insulation, or MLI, and route the cables of the roll-out solar array in support of future spacewalks. This step concludes the mod kit installation. The next stop is the relocation of the Common Communications for Visiting Vehicle boom, or C2B2. The crew will begin by translating to the worksite located on the P3 truss segment of the integrated truss structure, also on the port side of the vehicle. The crew will start by removing the C2B2 boom from the base, attaching an extension to the base, and installing the boom at the end of the extension. This action shifts the antenna boom by 1.5 feet, clearing the antennas from structural blockage. These steps conclude the relocation of the C2B2 boom. Finally, Nichole translates back to the P4 location to pick up the tool bag, while Anne starts her translation back to the airlock. Shortly after, Nichole begins her translation back to the airlock as well. Both crew members will ingress the International Space Station through the airlock, completing their planned 6 hours and 30 minutes spacewalk. Okay, great. So those were all the details of the sequence of events for our EVA. Back to you, Sandra.
Thank you both for your opening remarks. We will now open it up for questions. If you're on our phone bridge, you can press *1 to submit your question. If you do feel like your question has already been answered, you can press *2 to remove your name. Once your name is called, please state your name, affiliation, and to whom you'd like to direct your question. So do we have any questions in the room?
This question can be for either one of you. what is the role that communications antenna plays? Is it just communications within the ISS, or is it transmitting data back and forth between the ISS and Earth?
That particular communications antenna is really for ship-to-ship comm. So it allows us to communicate from the ISS to the visiting vehicles that are coming up. And it allows us to do that over a range of distances. It actually leads into why we're moving it. On a previous Northrop Grumman Cygnus mission, we were actually approaching on the second antenna. You saw the two antennas on that boom. And we hadn't done that before. We'd always used just the other one. And we found at a spot there where we lost communication with the vehicle at about 250 meters out. So we identified that that was kind of a null area of the field. And so we determined that if we move it a little bit inboard, we will clear that blockage that was causing it to be in that area, and we would have good comm coverage. Also on that boom, it has some retroreflectors, so reflectors for the navigation systems on vehicles to look at as they're coming up to ISS. And so we have to do this move. We wanted to do this move earlier because we have two vehicles coming up in the fall, NG-23, their Cygnus mission, as well as the first HTV-X mission from JAXA, that both rely on those reflectors to know where they are relative to the ISS. So we have to move them over early enough so that they can adjust where they are for their navigation.
Thank you. We'll now take a question from on the phone bridge. Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now.
Hi, thanks for taking the time to speak with us this afternoon. I guess just a follow-up to that question that was just asked in the explanation. Is that for all visiting vehicles that are berthed as well as that dock to the forward port of the Harmony module? I guess, put another way, like, does this impact Dragon and Starliner, or is this mostly for vehicles like Cygnus, the, HTV-X and Dream Chaser? Thanks.
No, for all of the vehicles that come to the U.S. segment, we use this antenna to provide that ship-to-ship communication. So it's kind of in the name. It's our common communication system for visiting vehicles. So it's hence it got the C2V2 name. But that's all of our comm. It goes to the docking vehicles as well as the berthing vehicles.
Our next question is from Bill Harwood with CBS News.
Hey, it's Bill Harwood. I apologize if you guys already addressed this. I couldn't get the audio working for the first 5 or 10 minutes of this thing. Can I assume that both Ann McClain and Nichole did actual training for this EVA before they flew, or is it mostly virtual training? I'm just curious if you could just kind of go over how they prepared for this, either on the ground in the tank or in orbit.
Yes, so the answer to your question is absolutely. They go ahead and train for this type of EVA. So as I mentioned before, the modification kit, the mod kit itself, we have installed it on the ISS 6 times prior to this. So the understanding of where the pieces come, how do we actually assemble it, it's something that they trained on the pool. Now, for this specific one, absolutely, we go ahead and then add to that the translation to the 2 alpha locations. So the changes that go with how to get to the location, where are we going to put the bags, where do we put the hooks? So those additional changes that go with the location is what we study. And of course, we study the whole package so that we make sure that we know exactly what we're doing when.
We'll next take a question from social media. As a reminder, you can submit your questions using the hashtag AskNASA. Danny on Instagram asks, when the astronauts wake up on the day of their spacewalk, what does their morning routine look like and how do they prepare?
Okay, well, that's a great question. So I would say the day that the astronauts wake up for their EVA, they're certainly already getting prepared to come out the door. In fact, before I arrive with my team, the astronauts themselves are already on the suit doing all the checkout so that when we begin the depressurization of the airlock, we're ready to go out. The morning, honestly, if I were them, I think that it will be a very exciting day because you're already on your suit, you're ready to go, you're saying bye to your friends as you're putting all your gear, and then the shift changes on Earth, and then you're just getting ready to depress and go out the door to get the job done.
Thank you. Our next question is from Mark Carreau with Aviation Lead in Space Technology.
Yes, thank you very much, Mark Carreau, Aviation Week in Space Technology. My question has to do with the IROSA that are coming up. I believe these will be the 7th and 8th. Are these coming as usual on SpaceX, and will they be coming on the same delivery mission? And you might tell us when that is, or will it be two different missions so you can wrap this upgrade up?
Sure. The IROSA arrays fly in pairs, so we have a pallet that we fly, and it would fly on a Dragon spacecraft. We have not yet determined where and when that would happen. We're still looking at it, but we had this desire to get this antenna move done, and it paired really well with this mod kit installation. So knocking this out early just means it's one less thing we have to worry about as we look forward to getting ready for those arrays eventually showing up.
We do have another question on the phone bridge. As a reminder, you can submit your question using *1. Will Robinson-Smith with Spaceflight Now.
Yes, hi. Thanks for letting me take another question here for Bill Spetch. Forward-looking question, if I might. The contract that Collins Aerospace had to develop the next spacesuit that would be used on the ISS, that was called off last year, and NASA was going to be assessing whether a new provider would need to be pulled into that contract slot. Has a determination been made on that, or is Axiom Space's EVA suit that they're working on for Artemis 3 going to be made available for ISS use before the station is retired? Just curious about the future in that regard. Thanks.
Yeah, I'll tell you, as far as that goes, we are confident in our ability to maintain the current fleet of spacesuits through the end of ISS life. But the Axiom team is working through their suit development for Artemis, and there's a lot of similarities, obviously, between the two for the needs. So if we looked at that, we could address that in the future. But right now, we don't have, from our side, we haven't addressed any plans.
And we do have another question here in the room.
To the Post newspaper again. Just following up on Mark's question, he'd asked about the IROSAs. I know in some of the material that was released, it talked about increasing the capacity. Is that just a long-needed upgrade, or are there experiments coming up that's going to require that extra capacity? Can you explain the addition of the extra capacity for the ISS?
Yeah, so the arrays that we have installed today have been legacy, and they've been up there for a really long time. And as anybody who has worked with solar panels, some people have them on their homes, they degrade over time, right? And in space, it's no different. The radiation effects degrade the arrays over time, so they produce less and less power as we go. The other thing that we watch for that these provide kind of a help for is a failure mode we found on one of our arrays here 3 or 4 years ago, where you can take it's an MMOD strike or a meteor strike on a specific portion of the array. It's a very small portion of the array that you have to hit. But within that, it causes almost a cascading effect, and it takes out multiple strings of power generation capability of that legacy solar array. And what we have the capability to do with the IROSAs is to replace those strings with these new ones that are coming up. And we actually had that happen on one of our arrays, and we utilized the IROSA then to go replace the power generation from those strings and actually cover us for a failure scenario. So it adds capability to us as the arrays age, but it also provides some protection against failure modes like that that we can get into just flying through the space environment.
Thank you. We do have another question on social media. Barrett Elementary School students ask, how can we tell the astronauts apart during their spacewalk? I know we talked about the stripes in the unmarked suit, but do you want to add any more to that?
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so how can you tell which astronaut you're looking at? So red stripe will be on McClain, and Nichole Ayers will not have a red stripe. The other thing that maybe you can think about is once we start the spacewalk, the first astronaut going out the door will be Anne, the second astronaut going out the door will be Nichole. And as they start translating through the space station, Nichole will be the first one to get to the location where the modification kit will be. So if you're following the sequence, that's how you can tell who's who.
Thank you both very much. And I'm not seeing any other questions in our queue today, so that will go ahead and wrap up our preview briefing. We do thank you both for taking time out of your very busy schedules to join us and answer some questions. We do hope all of you tuning in will watch the Spacewalk live. Our live coverage will begin at 6:30 a.m. Eastern on May 1st, and you can watch that on NASA Plus. So thanks again for joining us, and that will wrap up today's briefing.